Good morning, everybody. It's Suzanne in Ohio. I have a little project share today, and I'm still on my needle book tangent, I guess. I have two new needle books, and they have been so well received on my Etsy site. I just keep making them. Now, there's a lot to be said about these, but if you haven't seen my other two videos about my needle books, go back and look at them because you'll see how they have evolved since I first had the idea. Now, I'm a real sewer, so I wanted for myself a needle book that would really function. And that's why and how these evolved. They're not just a tiny little book to carry a few needles. These things are for the real sewers. So let me show you what these are. But first I'll say every one of them is unique based on what elements I find to work with and what I could match up from my stash. And let me explain this one first, the bigger one. I'll move this out of the way. I found I rescued a cross stitch from the thrift store, and it was on a massive piece of Veda cloth, and I couldn't use the whole thing, so I trimmed it out and I sewed it on the front as the main element. But what I sewed it onto was, well, that doesn't explain it, but you can see around the edge, I really didn't have a fabric that matched the shades of green that I wanted. So I have done quite a few needle books and other projects as well with this technique of stamping with my clear stamps. You might say rubber stamps, but they're the cling stamps, and I stamp them with paint. So I mix up my colors, I get all the variations of tones that I want, and I just stamp away on a piece of canvas, and that is my background. I backed this little cross stitch with a piece of felt, and I had some of my alcohol ink dyed lace that matched. So let me show you the back. This is a large pocket, and I had this pinned on here to explain in photographs exactly what that was. But when you open the book up from the front, it is full of all kinds of spaces for a real sewer to take advantage of. There's an angle pocket here, and that would hold needle books, floss, anything you want, and a pen pad or needle pad here, one here, and this is a swinging pocket. Yeah, I also angled it so you could see what your items are in there and easy access. And this little pocket is trimmed out in a matching fabric that's kind of, it's a quilt binding technique. When you turn that page over, there's another needle pad, and then right here is the needle pen pad that I make with the stand-up fins, or you might call them leaves. And when you buy commercial pads of pins, sometimes they come on these. They're made out of paper, but I make mine out of felt. And right here, I mounted the old Chinese proverb about an invisible thread that connects us all. But back to the main reason for these books. This is large, and it will suffice for anyone. One of my people that watched my video commented and said she's a cross stitcher, and she has 7 or 8 needles going all at the same time. So it's not just for just a few needles. I have my needle book with probably no less than 50 needles and 20 or 30 straight pins of all kinds. and I really use it. I'm almost thinking about making myself a larger one than the one I'm using right now. But this needle book is so beautiful, and it is soft and cushy, but it's firm. It's going to hold its shape. And if you go back and look, I showed on a couple videos how I put these together. I make the entire outside first, and that's about 3 layers. It's the main background. It's a piece of thin or medium weight Pellon, and then it's got some batting in it also. So I make the front and the back the same way, and sew all these things on, and then I put the front and the back together, and I carefully stitch around all the edges. Now in this case, I'm into raw edges and hand sewing, and I stitch it together. I did one time around with a sewing machine, and then I put the embroidery thread running stitch to kind of set it off with a color to it. And yes, some of the threads kind of, every now and then you find a thread and you just pull it out. But that canvas has been washed and tightened up, and it has all this paint stamped on it. It's going to hold together. It's going to be very nice. A long-lasting needle book for a gift, a keepsake, an heirloom, to encourage some younger woman to get started sewing. So there you have that idea. And then this one, I had just a tiny scrap of this, and I believe this was the Susan Wingett print. And I don't know how well you can see, but there's 2 birds on this little scrap, and I cut out one of the feathers that match and mounted it right here, and the dragonfly right here. And again, I put it on one of my hand stamped pieces of canvas, and the paint that I used incorporated all the colors in the original fabric, and it's quite charming. This little piece of lace behind the birds is another one of my alcohol ink dyed laces. Perfectly matches this shade of taupe in the print. So on the inside of this one, you have that leaf or fin quilted, or let's say sewn embroidery, or sewn thing for sticking your pins in. It works so wonderful. I'm telling you, if you're sewing and you're busy, you just go like that, and it catches everything. And I put a pocket here. I used every scrap of this fabric that I had. I couldn't find an appropriate place to put this old Chinese proverb, but I sent a copy of it. This is printed on that prepared to print fabric, and all you do is peel off the backing and stitch it on wherever you would want to. And you could even use that on another project. The leaf, or the folding pocket or swinging pocket in this one, is also angled, and dragonfly here, a little felt pad there, and you flip it over, and it's got a very substantial felt pad there with 3 layers on it. And then just 2 more decorative squares with the focal points from the original fabric, a butterfly and a bird, and I quilted around that just to make it pop out a little bit. Now you could also use that as a pin cushion. There's no reason you couldn't. And again, it's put together the same way I just explained. And then on the back, as I showed you before. So 2 beautiful needle books there. I think they're already in my Etsy site. Yeah, I think they are. But if you're interested just to see more close-up pictures, go to my Etsy site and look, and you can look closely at some of those details if you're interested in making your own. Don't forget to make the front and the back separate and then put them together. Now you can also quilt bind them all the way around the edge, which some of my needle books I had done that too. And those have already sold, so I don't have them to show you right now. But again, this one's a very large one for a very serious sewer and someone that likes these bright springy colors. And then this one, a little bit smaller, a little bit more modest, but quite functional. You can do anything you want with that. And what wonderful gifts they make. I've given a couple away, and it seems to be kind of a novel idea, something big enough to really accommodate everything you're going to carry with you. I carry everything, safety pins and little thread lassos and seam ripper and pins and needles of all assortments, and the stuff to make my homemade thimbles that I use. I make a new one every time. It's just a piece of cardboard on a piece of strapping tape, and I wrap it around the finger that I tend to push the most with. So there you have it, and I hope you'll go to my Etsy site and look at these up close and get inspired. And I want to thank you for watching here on this miserable, cold, rainy, wet spring morning in Ohio. We have 2 or 3 more days of this, and then we're getting back to nice weather. So enjoy your day. I hope you're creating, and thank you for watching. Leave a comment or a question below. I'll get back to you. For those of you that have commented before, I was so slow responding over the last 2 months because I moved. And I'm back in my favorite little, I call it my hometown in Ohio. And we're just now getting settled. I say we, it's my sister and I. So have a wonderful, creative day. Enjoy every moment with friends and family, and thank you for watching.